Hello and welcome. I'm BluenoseLJ. This is a transfer news update for Everton. We're into the second week of this January transfer window, and we are still waiting on any business being done by Everton, players coming in or players going out. There's a lot of speculation out there about potential players coming to Everton and obviously players leaving the club. Um, One of those players that we are heavily linked to right now is Bournemouth's Joshua King. This was a transfer that was highly speculated in the summer as well. Obviously, that didn't come off, and Joshua King stayed at Bournemouth. He is being linked with other clubs as well, West Ham being one of those. Now, we are looking at the potential of doing a swap deal. That this is what is being reported anyway. That would involve either John Joe Kenny or Jared Branthwaite in the deal for Joshua King. I don't see anything in the Jared Branthwaite rumours because he's still young and there's still a lot of potential in Branthwaite. I do see him leaving the club in the near future to go out on loan. Um, but I don't think that we're going to be allowing him to leave on a permanent deal. Certainly not yet. Whether he fulfills the potential that he's got is another thing to be seen. But we certainly are not going to be allowing him to leave the club on a permanent deal quite yet. He's going to be given some chance. He's 18 years old or 19. He's still a young player with potential, so I can't see us letting him go. Now, John Joe Kenny, on the other hand, there is a possibility of that. But only obviously if we can bring in a right back as well, because we do need cover. Although Holgate has done that in the past couple of weeks, maybe Carlo Ancelotti sees the potential of using Holgate as a right back and allowing John Joe Kenny to go. The thing is with this swap deal is it values Joshua King quite highly. We are looking, I think, somewhere between 10, 12 million pounds for John Joe Kenny, maybe even slightly higher than that, to be honest. Um, and that values Joshua King at that kind of level. The guy has 6 months left on his contract at Bournemouth. And one of the reasons why West Ham looked like that they possibly might be pulling out of that deal is because of that fee, their £10 million fee that they've been, uh, they're looking at having to pay in order to purchase Joshua King. Now, £10 million for a striker with 6 months left on his contract is a lot of money, especially when you're talking about a championship player. Now, yes, he has played in the Premier League, so he has that experience, but he's 29 years old this week. He's his 15th of January, I think, his birthday. So he's going to be 29 years old. He has 6 months on his contract. So for me, that is a lot of money. Not only that, but West Ham, I can see the potential there. He's a hardworking striker. He runs about a lot, but so I can see why West Ham Moyes loves that kind of striker. So it makes sense for West Ham where they are in the league, where they are as a club. It makes sense for them with their manager, the way that Moyes is going to have West Ham play, to have a striker that is going to work the way that Joshua King will. I don't think it makes sense for us. Obviously, we have Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and I'm not saying that we don't need a striker that isn't going to work. Of course, we need strikers that are going to work, but we need more than that. The fact is that Joshua King is not a prolific goal scorer. Yes, he does score. He has scored 6 goals since the beginning of last season. Just a couple of the figures. He's played 169 times for Bournemouth and he scored 48 goals. That's around about 1 in 4 per goal. One in 4 games. For Blackburn, who he actually played for before Bournemouth, he scored 3 in 56. For Norway, he has 17 in 51 games. So yes, he can score, but he is not a prolific goal scorer. And if we are looking at top 4, even top 6, we need a striker that can get 15 goals. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, hopefully this season, although goals seem to have dried up a little bit, but all strikers go through that. We're talking about 20, 25 goals this season for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We need if we're going to have another striker, we need a striker that is going to contribute at least a minimum of 10 goals. Really, realistically, we need 15. I don't think that Joshua King offers us that. He offers the work rate, but he isn't the prolific striker that we need right now. We already have Tosun, who is very likely to leave the club. Now, Tosun is a much better striker in the sense of goals. I know he hasn't been prolific for us, but his career is he has scored a lot more goals, and he offers a lot more potential to get a goal than what I think Joshua King does. I don't think he offers the work rate that Joshua King would offer, but neither of these players, Tosun or Joshua King, are the type of player that we should be looking at as a club progressing and going forward. We are a club in transition. We are looking at going up. We are looking at becoming a team, a squad that is realistically challenging for Europe every single season, a club that should be challenging for the Champions League every single season, and a club that eventually, in the next 3-4 years, maybe 5 years, that should be realistically challenging for the title. Joshua King is not going to bring us that. And even in the short term, I don't think that he takes us to the next level, even this season. So for me, and especially at that kind of level, at £10 million, it doesn't make sense for us. And I really, really hope that we miss out on Joshua King, or rather not miss out, we actually just don't bother pursuing that as a line of realistic a purchase that we are going to go ahead with. I would much rather us. I don't think it's realistic, to be honest, and I do worry about the potential of what could happen in the dressing room if we did go for Diego Costa. The reputation precedes him. Now, I don't know whether that everything that is said about him is true. The fact is that Diego Costa will score goals. He is a quality striker, and obviously he's proven it in the Premier League before. So I'd be worried about any kind of disruption in what seems to be a united Everton. We've been like this especially since kind of like the Moyes era, even back to the Dogs of War. It was a close knit unity of the squad, and I would be worried about the potential for the disruption that Diego Costa might bring to that. But there's no question about it that Diego Costa is the kind of striker that we should be looking at purchasing. Whether it is Diego Costa or not, what I'm talking about is a player proven to be a top quality striker. Has done so throughout his career. Played at some of the top clubs throughout Europe, and has scored a lot more than Joshua King. So for me, the Joshua King thing should be left alone. It's the Diego Costa type player that we need to bring in. Even if it's not Diego Costa, it's that level that we need to bring in to the club. We need to push on. We need to go beyond Joshua King. We need to go beyond Tosun. We need to bring in a level of player that is going to push us up into those Champions League spots. That's not Joshua King. Personally, although I have mentioned Diego Costa here, I do honestly believe that we should go for Olivier Giroud. I don't know how realistic that one is either, but that would be my choice of striker. I think Giroud is a top quality striker. Still hungry, still top quality. And again, he knows where the back of the net is, played at some of the top clubs. And he's going to be hungry for this, to go to the Euros. So if we could make that move, I would go for Giroud. Another player that we're heavily linked with, and this one I'm certainly on board with, is Christian Eriksen. If we could get Christian Eriksen, then as long as the wages could be sorted out, because I do think that he's on huge amounts of wage, and I don't know really if realistically we should be paying that kind of money. If we could get him to reduce the wages, I would definitely take Christian Eriksen. Now, if we look at some of the figures for him, obviously he's an attacking midfielder, a completely different role than what the striker that Joshua King would be. He actually scored 51 goals in 226 games for Spurs. He hasn't been as good for Inter Milan. He's only scored one in the 26 games that he's played for them, and actually has no goals or assists this season. But in the 2 seasons before he actually left, the last season that he played for Tottenham, where he wasn't too good, the 2 prior seasons to that, he scored in the 2017-18 season. He scored 10 goals with 11 assists, and that was in 37 games. The previous the season 2018-2019, in 35 games, he scored 8 goals with 12 assists. That's the kind of attacking midfielder that we need. Now, he knows how to put the ball on the back, on the top of somebody's head as well. So I'm not sure that he's going to offer huge amounts of work rate, but as a player that can create, I do think that Christian Eriksen would be an awesome player for us. Whether he would play every week is another thing. If we had Decore and Allen, with Allen, sat as that holding midfielder, Decore is the box-to-box midfielder, which would allow Christian Eriksen to have a little bit more free roll. I don't know if he fits in the same kind of team as Rodriguez. I don't know how all of that would work, but for me, if we could, especially if we could get him on loan, I think that really makes sense. The only other player that I would like us to go for in that kind of midfield, attacking midfield role, it isn't going to happen. Is Philip Coutinho. I still rate him highly. I still think that he is a top quality player. It's not going to happen. We're not even linked with him. It's just a player that I would like to see come to Everton. Yes, I know he has that affiliation with the other side, but that doesn't mean that he can't still perform for us. Now, obviously, a couple of other players that we're still linked with is Max Aarons, and I really hope that that deal goes through. If Max Aarons comes and we get rid of John Joe Kenny and we even swap him for Joshua King, would Joshua King be okay backup for Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a little bit? As long as I think we brought in another striker, yeah, maybe on that kind of basis, it would all little bit of a transfer merry-go-round would go on there. From like I say, still for me, Joshua King's a no, but we have to look at the wave. If we brought in somebody like Max Aarons, which I really think that if we brought him in, our defense would be sorted for the next 5 years with him, Max Aarons, with Holgate, with Branthwaite coming through as well, Lucas Digne, and Godfrey. I just think that our back four would be sorted for the next 5 years. And really, all of those would be really solid defenders. So we need a right back, clearly. And Max Aarons definitely fits the bill. Whether we're going to pay the £30 million for him is another thing. And obviously, we're still linked with Sami Khedira, which, again, for me, I would hope that that doesn't go through. He is too slow. Is he a good player? I'm not going to deny that he's been a top quality player. He is a top quality player. I just think that we already have a Gomez. We already have a Sigurdsson. And Khedira is arguably a better version of one of those. And that makes no sense to purchase him unless we are looking to get rid of at least one, maybe both of those players. Then maybe it could be viable. Now, players going out, Cenk Tosun being linked with a move to West Brom. Whether that actually happens or not, I think depends on whether we sign King or whether we sign another striker. We obviously can't let him go at the moment. We do have Ellis Sims, but clearly he's not getting the chance in order to prove himself in the first team at the moment. Yes, he is scoring for fun in the level that he's at, but there's a lot of Everton fans who are calling for him to be called up to the first team. The fact is that Carlo Ancelotti sees him every day, and he knows what he's like against the kind of level of first team players that we have. Maybe he's just not cutting it at that level, and so Carlo Ancelotti is not going to give him the chance. Obviously, we have Cenk Tosun at the moment, who is going to be playing against Wolves because Dominic Calvert-Lewin is out. So unless we bring in a striker, we can't let Cenk Tosun go because he is literally kind of the only cover we've got. Moise Kean is out on loan, and that is looking like we're going to go ahead with selling him permanently. There's been conflicting news about that. Carlo Ancelotti's saying that we're not going to get rid of him, and then there's news that we are going to get rid of him. I do think that we will, and the fact is, if we take how he has been for other clubs, Juventus and now PSG, then that value should be, or his value should be a lot more than if you were valuing him as an Everton player. Obviously, he didn't score very many goals for us, but he is scoring for Paris Saint-Germain. He did score for Juventus. He has scored for the Italian side. So realistically, we should be looking up towards 40 million for him. We're not going to get that for him. It's going to be somewhere between 30 and 35, I would have thought. But it is a profit. We only paid 27 for him. So even though we should be getting closer to 40, we're not going to get that money for him based on how he performed for us. So yeah, that's obviously another potential going out. Branthwaite is maybe going to go out on loan to somebody like Blackburn, who have showed an interest. I can't see him actually leaving on a permanent deal. And obviously there's lots of other players that are being linked with potential moves away, Fabian Delph being one of those. Let's hope that he does go. And Bernard, obviously, with AS Roma, with a potential swap deal with Olsen. There should be money coming our way in that swap deal. There's no way that Olsen is at the same value as Bernard. But yeah, we shall see how things pan out. At the moment, there's nothing too solid about the players that we're being linked to or players that are being linked away from the club. Let's hope that changes. I do think that we are going to sign, I'm going to say 2 players in this transfer window. I'm hoping that it's going to be 3. Right back, a striker, and an attacking midfielder. We probably need a winger as well, but that can wait until the summer. We definitely need a right back. We definitely need an attacking midfielder, and we definitely need some cover for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And there's a lot of players that we need to get rid of. So let's hope we get some news over the next week or so. And as we're going into the end of this transfer window, we get some real solid news about potential players coming in. Thank you very much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you on my next video. And thank you very much for your support.